Hey, what's going on, guys? One of my favorite shows to be on. I'm blessed to be here and defend the elite Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. That's right.
Hey, so let's talk about it. Obviously, the Super Bowl came and went. Eagles won against all odds, right? Jalen Hurts did his thing. Kansas City, this is not a Super Bowl recap show, but Kansas City did what a lot of the, I guess, pundits, social media, anybody who talked about the Super Bowl said what the game plan was supposed to be, right? It was stop Saquon Barkley. He's been the offense all season. Put it in Jalen Hurts' hands. Washington tried it the week before. Didn't work out so well for him. Kansas City tried their hand at it. To their credit, that was the play. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offensive, specifically passing attack, has been what would be a nice word, Sean Barnard? A real middle of the pack? Okay. Like, not,
I mean, when Saquon's taking it 100 yards a carry here, I feel like you can't critique not having the chance to throw for those yards there.
Let him know.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is playing the result. He knows what the truth is, but we'll let him have it, because this is going to be the theme of the show today, Bert. It's going to be, no matter what I say, it's going to be Super Bowl MVP, hoisting the trophy, Big Dom,
more than that,
and that's all it's going to be all show. So
I mean, it sounds like facts.
Yeah, it sounds like what they're loading up. It sounds like what they're loading up. Me and Adam Lewis had a very heated discussion, so we'll start there. We'll start with the perception of what Jalen Hurts is now. Mm-hmm. Okay. NFL.com just released their, I guess, final quarterback. I didn't really get into the article, but it was the final quarterback power rankings based on the regular season and the postseason. So obviously up to and including the Super Bowl, where Jalen Hurts was a Super Bowl MVP. He ends up 9 on the list. So if you guys remember last week when this whole thing started off on Stuff About Sports on Instagram, the post that from me and Bert's last show, the point was, in terms of whose legacy this game affected more, Mahomes or Hurts. Mine was Mahomes, because even if Jalen Hurts won, which he ended up doing, it wouldn't have changed the perception of where he ranks with all the quarterbacks above him. Bert, if you remember, I said, however you want to argue it, he's somewhere in the 7 to 12 range, is what I said.
You did say that. Yeah.
And he ended up at number 9. Now, again, it's NFL.com. Take it for what you will. The football is played in the NFL.
Okay.
So NFL.com sounds like it's not Bob's at Ask Jeeves. It's not, it's not like some rinky-dink dude in his mom's basement coming up with stats, like the nerds that sit in the nosebleeds and keep score at the baseball game, even though the fucking Jumbotron is sitting right there doing it for us. We have TVs in the fridges now. You guys put your notebooks away. It's enough of that. So Adam, I said to you, why you're putting Jalen Hurts in tier 1? Why?
Yeah, I mean, like we had the discussion, Jerm, I firmly believe that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback. And when we talk about the big four of Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and Lamar, I don't know if people realize that Jalen Hurts is 5-1 versus those guys in his career, specifically 5-0 in the last 2 seasons, 2-0 against Mahomes in the last 2 seasons, ever since he lost that Super Bowl to them, 14-1 against the AFC in the last 5 seasons. And since he first took the team to the Super Bowl, again, that only lost being to the Chiefs in that Super Bowl that he played in. And when we look at the first 4 seasons as a primary starter versus Mahomes, both of their first 4 years weren't both of their first years, weren't full season numbers due to them being backups at first. But Jalen Hurts only has 4 less regular season wins, 49 for Mahomes, 45 for Hurts, but the same amount of playoff appearances, the same amount of Super Bowl appearances, and the same amount of Super Bowl wins. If you want to go to Lamar Jackson, who is another part of this big four, his first 5 years versus Lamar, and this includes both of their odd first years when they were backups and decoys kind of behind Carson Wentz for the Eagles and Joe Flacco for the Ravens. Jalen Hurts has 1 more win, 46 to Lamar's 45, more passing yards per game, 191 to Lamar's 174, more total touchdowns by 15, 140 for Jalen, 125 for Lamar, 2 Pro Bowl selections, but Jalen's won the conference twice. Jalen has been to the Super Bowl twice. And when you look at the big four, again, talking about them here, outside of Patrick Mahomes, Burrow has been to 1 Super Bowl, who we want to anoint Joe Burrow all of a sudden for winning 1 AFC championship game and going to the Super Bowl and losing to Matthew Stafford, which I'm not going to knock him for. But if we can anoint Burrow in that aspect, then why can't Jalen Hurts, who has been to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl, outplayed Patrick Mahomes in both of the Super Bowls that he's been in and won Super Bowl MVP. Why can't he be given credit for that? The other two in the Big Four, Jerm, and haven't even been to the Super Bowl. They haven't even won the conference. And when you look at Jalen Hurts winning 73% of his games, and let me enlighten you guys on some Super Bowl records that Jalen Hurts already holds for playing in 2 Super Bowls. The highest completion percentage for a Super Bowl career with minimum 40 attempts, so you can throw that asterisk in there if you want, with 73%. He's tied with James White for the most points scored by a player in a single Super Bowl with 20 of them. It was 3 rushing touchdowns and a 2-point conversion the first time versus the Chiefs. He's the only quarterback in the top 10 of total points scored by a quarterback in their Super Bowl career with 26. Hurts is just behind Gronk and Emmitt Smith, who both have 30. John Elway is number 11 with 24. I'll say that again. Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback in the top 10 for total points scored in a Super Bowl in their career. The most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback overall with 4. It took Elway 5 Super Bowls to do this, and he shares this record with John Elway, speaking of Jalen Hurts. The most rushing touchdowns in a game with 3. He shares that stat with Terrell Davis. The most rushing yards in a game by a quarterback with 72. Jalen Hurts now has the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in the playoffs, the first quarterback ever with 5 rushing, 5 passing in a postseason history, and the first ever with 10 of each in a postseason history as well. And I just want to go ahead and address that argument of, put this quarterback on the Eagles and they'll win this Super Bowl. That feels like such a weak argument to me. And so is the turnaround of, okay, put Jalen on X team and he'd be this. Just about any quarterback on a loaded roster will succeed like that, but that doesn't mean that the quarterback is discredited. We got to stop doing that. We want to anoint Josh Allen for winning the MVP when he was his team without having a lot of talent around him. So why can't Jalen Hurts be respected as a guy who was actually able to deliver? Because do you know how many quarterbacks in history and even in recent memory that we've seen with loaded rosters? Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy. Yes, it's the same team, obviously, but they haven't been able to deliver. And who did they lose to? Patrick Mahomes, the guy that Jalen Hurts actually beat. You start to run out of facts when you start doing that. If we can anoint guys like Tom Brady for winning so much, and no, I'm not comparing Hurts to Brady, but if we want to anoint these guys who are winning in the big moments, making the plays, making the 3rd down conversions, the 4th down conversions, scoring when it matters, then we need to be doing this with Jalen Hurts. Because if this was anyone else in the Big Four, I know for a fact everybody on this panel would not be doing this if they had a stacked team. And it's kind of funny. Here's how I'll end it. It's funny how winning a Super Bowl has been talked about as the most important thing a quarterback could do for their legacy until Jalen Hurts did it. Make it make sense.
Good, Sean.
Yeah, I like this guy. We're coming out hot here starting that. Now, Jerm, we've had a lot of different discussions on this. We kind of went back and forth through DMs. The point that I wanted to make and what I think should be a locked-in take is there is not this tier of 4. There is this tier of 5. That Jalen Hurts is every bit in that same caliber of Lamar Jackson, of Josh Allen, of Patrick Mahomes, of Joe Burrow, that he is in that mix. And we don't do it. We don't have to do the hypotheticals. They play the games for a reason. And that is what Jalen Hurts is at the best at the end of the day. It is winning football games. You want to go through his career to this point. He's 46-20 all time as a starter. He is one of 5 quarterbacks to start multiple Super Bowls before the age of 27. The other 4 there being Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson. If we want to go back to his college days, his days as a starter, he's gone to 2 national championships. He's gone to another college football player, then in the playoff, then in the NFL, went to the playoffs the first time, went to the Super Bowl, back to the playoffs, and then, of course, we saw what just happened this most recent year where he outplayed Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage with the brightest lights on him for the 2nd time in his career. At the end of the day, this game is about winning, and that is what Jalen Hurts does better than any other quarterback in the league. You give him what is in front of him, and he finds a way to get the job done. And for all the critiques, the make Jalen Hurts beat you, that's exactly what he does. I find it really interesting that this is the strategy by other teams to make him throw the ball, and then what happens? You lose. And for the loaded roster conversations, it's no coincidence that A.J. Brown has had his best years when Jalen Hurts is throwing him the football. It's no coincidence that Saquon Barkley has had his best years when he's sharing the backfield with Jalen Hurts. He makes others around him better in the same way that this roster certainly helps him. There's no doubt that he did not win the Super Bowl individually, but guess what? Neither has any other quarterback ever. You have to have a team around you, and Jalen Hurts certainly has benefited from that, but you cannot hold that against him in the way. What do you want the guy to do? Go to Howie Roseman, say, I want worse teammates. I want to prove I can do this myself, that I'm that special, but he is that special to an extent that I do believe plenty of teams would be jumping at the opportunity to have Jalen Hurts representing him, because that's exactly what he does. He just finds a way to win, and to me, that's the most important thing.
Bert, help me out. Help me.
You need it, bro.
No, you know why? Because look, I'm not here to dog you, but last week when we had this discussion, I did put him at 5. I did. And we heard from Sean, it wasn't a top 4, it was a 5, and that's exactly where I put him last week when you started this. Like, I don't think he's elite. I literally put him at 5. There's not much more I can add to this. What I will say is, Sean, with all due respect, no one gives a shit about college when you're in the NFL. Sure. So we have to, like, his to that I'll say his accolades that you have listed before, you and Adam listed before, were good and plenty. We know he's a winning quarterback. If he had lost this Super Bowl, I think there could have been argument that he's not elite. He's still good, but not elite. Because when it comes down to it, despite the personal accolades and what he's done in the game personally for himself, that last point you just made, Sean, sums it up. He makes those better around him and he wins games, that's exactly what you look for. I think what he's suffering from now, from a lot of the haters, Jerm included, is he doesn't have the personal accolades that stand out like a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers or anything else. I mean, let's be honest. The only time he got MVP consideration was 2022 and finished second in voting. He's got 2 Pro Bowls to his name. And that's not to say he's not going to, what's that?
He's 26, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Not saying he's not going to get there. I mean, you figure 4 years in the league, he may just be one of those quarterbacks that doesn't have those personal accolades for whatever reason, still has successful careers, still has Super Bowl wins, and then, comes around the first ballot Hall of Fames and he gets snuffed for, other people that shouldn't have made it this year. Eli Manning, my boy, I love you. But with all due respect, I think we have to, at this point, since he won and did so, cool, calm, and collected, and as a Giant fan, just so you know, me saying this hurts me, but it was fucking awesome. It was. And I think I still have a soft spot for Saquon, so I was incredibly happy for him. But to watch the Eagles trounce the Chiefs like that, like it was insane. And I think, Adam, I don't know if you said it or Sean, if you said it too, or maybe both of you did. The game plan was to try to contain Saquon. And when they did, like, I don't know why teams do that, because Jalen Hurts still has an arm. He can still make those throws. He still has a great receiving core, and he proved that through and through. Now, it's not to say that he's the only person that beat the Chiefs and he's the only person that won. Does he have a great supporting cast? Not just on the offensive side, but the defensive side, 100%. But when you look back at all those great quarterbacks, it truly is a team effort. And I think when we get so caught up in calling out quarterbacks and calling out these are the ones that are elite. These are the Tom Brady's throwing to the lacrosse players that had no business being in the NFL. But those receivers still had great careers down the line too, whether they finished and retired under Brady or whether or not they were, your run slot guys like Wes Welker that ended up doing it in Denver too. So look, to me, at this point, the needle has shifted. He's in the top 5 for me. We'll see what happens next year. This could be one of those things where he's done it, takes a little bit off and then falls, but I don't see that happening for him. He's a competitor, man.
Yeah.
All right, enough.
All right, Jerm. It's you on the island, brother. Positive.
Hey, listen, as you know, I fear nothing. When the truth is on your side, there's nothing to fear. Let me clarify a few things. I took some notes here. Adam, you said Jalen Hurts is 5-0 against the Big Four. Is that what?
Mm-hmm. In the last 2 years, he's 5-1 in his career versus Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Lamar.
That is indeed impressive. It's very impressive because I wasn't
blew out
aware.
Burrow by 20.
He did, right? Because I wasn't aware that Jalen Hurts also played defense. So what I want to say when it comes to all of this stuff is that the Eagles do have the most complete roster of any team since probably the 98 Broncos, who were cheating the cat. This Super Bowl victory is not really about Jalen Hurts. Bert, did I say Jalen Hurts was trash? This is the thing that kills me because I complimented Jalen Hurts. What I'm saying is that let's pump the brakes. Jalen Hurts got 0 MVP votes. Why is that? To Saquon Barkley, another person on his team who got 44. There's 5 places. Let me see. Where's my camera? There's 5 places you can land within all the voters. So there's a lot of spots that he could have landed at least one. He got 0 to Saquon's. To me, that's not an elite quarterback. And
hold on. I need to stop you there because the MVP is not a quarterback award, although it's trended in that direction. But because there's the votes for other positions, we can't sit here and say, well, he didn't get a vote, which means his season was trash.
Bert, Baker Mayfield got 1 vote. All right. So Rob says, name a pass that Jalen Hurts can't make. Stop. All these players are in the NFL. Rob, all the NFL players, they can make the passes. I don't care if you're
disagree.
They're in the NFL. Like this is like, I can take Brian Scalabrini's place in the NBA, and then he goes to the YMCA and cooks 40 dudes that are standing in the gym. It's enough. All the quarterbacks can make the passes. I get it. Yes. Can they throw 80 yards in the air like Josh Allen, or can they throw on their sides lateral like Patrick Mahomes? Probably not. But let's relax when Jalen Hurts is throwing to wide open Dallas Goedert and throwing checkdowns to Saquon Barkley. They all can do that. The Eagles are a running team. Granted, there's a reason for that. Both years, Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl in 2022 and 2024. What were the Eagles' makeup? Very strong defense, specifically that defensive line, a good offensive line, and a strong running game when DeAndre Swift and them boys were there. The problem was injuries, and the problem was DeAndre Swift isn't Saquon Barkley. And so then it really became Jalen Hurts. And what happened? What was their record in 2023, Sean Barnard? Not good.
Yeah, they fell apart.
What a garbage offensive coordinator.
So
garbage offensive coordinator.
That was the bigger story. There.
And he still made the playoffs. And they still went 10-1 before falling apart. And they still beat your Bills.
Is that a compliment? So, but I'm saying, is that an argument or a defense? Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, he's had mad coordinators. Is he elite or not? Josh Allen has went through a couple offensive coordinators. He's more or less been the same guy.
We're talking, if that's the low point, we're talking about them starting the year 10-1 and still going to the first round of the playoffs. Which is
I got you, but the argument is, in reality, let me read the rest of his comment. Maybe he's not your favorite fantasy quarterback, but that's not the Eagles' goal to track up yet. But again, you're making up excuses. This is where I'm coming. That, to me, is a game manager. And Jalen Hurts is the best game manager in the NFL, period.
Tom Brady?
No, because like Bert said, Tom Brady was making these lacrosse players look really good. And you saw what happened at the moment Tom Brady left. That thing fell apart.
So being the only quarterback in top 10 for points scored in a Super Bowl by a player is a game manager? Mahomes ain't there. Brady ain't there. Russell Wilson ain't there.
So what does that mean? He played in 2 Super Bowls, and he has some impressive stats. Nick Foles also has a bust in Canton for doing some pretty amazing things.
I disagree. I disagree.
And okay, more importantly, the whole Super Bowl, to me, if you could, the Super Bowl MVP was the defense. Sean, be real.
I mean, to that same point, though, quarterback is the most important position in football. That's always been the case there. The defense was great. There's no doubt about it. It takes a team effort. And clearly, the Chiefs had issues on the offensive line. The Eagles exposed them. The Eagles defense played terrific there. But Jalen Hurts is still the quarterback that drove the bus, that made those throws, that led them, that put 40 points on the board against the Chiefs. So it does work both ways there, too.
It does. But Bert, did I not say that Jalen Hurts did what he was supposed to do, and he played great? The issue I had was this all of a sudden ascension where you have Adam Lewis on his show saying he would take Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen and Joe Burrow.
I surely would. I'm telling you guys right now. You want skills or you want Super Bowl wins, Jerm? Drew Brees never won an MVP, but he has a Super Bowl MVP. That's what matters.
I'm missing it. The only out of the big 4, the only one you can really have an argument against is Lamar Jackson, because he is literally the reason his teams are losing. What more could have Josh Allen did in that 13-second game to win the game?
So for me, this is how I view quarterbacks in general, and this is why I'm a Jalen guy. To me, what defines a quarterback is when you give them the ball with the game on the line, can they lead you in a drive? Jalen Hurts does that better than anyone. He has a better QBR in 1-score games in the fourth quarter and overtime than Tom Brady, a better QBR than Patrick Mahomes in that category. And if you want to bring it to your boy Josh Allen, What happened with them against the Chiefs, man? What happened when they got the ball with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left with the ball on the 30-yard line and he was unable to get more than one first down? That's a drive that Jalen Hurts finishes, and he finds a way to finish. That's, to me, why I define it. That's like what I look for in a quarterback, the most important thing, shining the brightest when the lights are on him. That's what Jalen does, and that isn't what Josh Allen did in this very playoff run.
So he does deserve credit. I feel like I have to keep saying that because I know I'm sounding like I'm tearing him down. He performed as well as he needed to, but that's been the crux of the entire season. I'm not even saying he's overrated. I'm saying you guys are overrating him. Hurts puts winning over everything, or you want a quarterback that puts winning over everything? Like,
It's exactly what we want.
Just Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, they don't care about winning as much? Is that why they keep losing to the Chiefs? Or is it because the defense or the coaching or something else? Look at Josh Allen's playoff numbers. His playoff numbers overall are better than Jalen Hurts.
Incorrect.
Incorrect?
I'll go through the numbers here because I did pull this up because I figured this would be a topic here. So
Sean,
Jalen,
real quick, did you say that Jalen Hurts has the best QBR in one-score games and overtime?
Yes.
Fourth quarter.
Fourth quarters.
Heard.
Yeah. The Jalen Hurts playoff stats. So he's 5-3 in his career in the playoffs. He's completed 154 of 235 of his passes, 65.8% pass, thrown for 1,592 yards. He's got 17 total touchdowns, 6 turnovers there. To go Josh Allen, he's 7-6 in his playoff career. In those 15 matchups, so we're talking about 7 more games, he has the touchdown. I should have had this up before. 32 touchdowns. He's got 16 turnovers there. He's added 668 rushing yards, so Hurts about the middle there. And to give this Allen drive that I'm speaking about that closed out the game against the Chiefs here, once again, the Chiefs kick off, ball on the 30 with 3:33 on the clock, a chance to win the game. Play 1, Ty Johnson rushing yard, -1 yards, they lose, or they go back a yard. Josh Allen then rushes for 13 yards to take it to the 42. With 2:55 on the clock, on the 42-yard line, Josh Allen the ball. You think you're scoring there, right? That's what a franchise quarterback and a league MVP should be doing. What happens next? We have an incomplete pass to Khalil Shakir. Then the next play, an incomplete pass to Curtis Samuel. Then Josh Allen completed a 5-yard pass to Amari Cooper. They're to the 47-yard line at the 2-minute warning. You have a whole 2-minute warning to talk over this play. And what happened next? Josh Allen floats up a prayer that is not answered. And the root of that play here, to bring it back to Jalen Hurts, it isn't the throw that I'm critiquing Josh Allen for. What mistake did he make there? He looked and saw a direct pass rusher coming at him unblocked and did not put a guy on it. If that's Jalen Hurts in the spot, I know that he's going to be, Saquon, I need you. Dallas Goedert, I need you, and create that throw for you. The bottom line is Josh Allen had every chance to slay the same dragon that Jalen Hurts just did and came up short in that exact opportunity.
Time out. No. I have to look. Yeah, I'm all for the Jalen Hurts thing. You lost me in that last example because you're summing up Josh Allen's great postseason play with one sequence that should not like honestly define him in terms of his playoff run this year or any playoff run. And I think your last point contradicted what you were trying to say. And I don't want to speak for you, just what I'm noticing on the outside. But you said, oh, hey, Saquon, I need you. Goddard, I need you. That's fine. So what you're saying is Jalen Hurts with his supporting cast is better than Josh Allen and his team or his decision making.
My point there was so what interrupted that throw for Josh Allen? He gets blitzed off the edge unblocked, right? Has no time to make that throw. My point being, if he's at the line of scrimmage, Jalen Hurts is saying, we need a blocker on that. That's part of the quarterback job, is rearranging things. Josh Allen did not correct that, did not address that. He left himself vulnerable and was unable to make a play as a result. That's a part of this whole quarterback equation to me. So when I meant that for making a play, I meant coming over and block for me so I can make a throw, which Josh Allen did not do there.
So you're saying Jalen Hurts has a higher football IQ than Josh Allen?
I think that is true.
I would argue that. Yeah, I would argue that confidently.
All right. So Josh Allen in his 4 losses to the Chiefs.
Jerm only.
1,040 passing yards with 9 passing touchdowns, only 1 interception on a 65% completion percentage with a passer rating of 100. He added 267 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, those are amazing numbers. And and what you're doing is you're cherry picking a couple plays and then ignoring the broad. But when you're defending Jalen Hurts, you're doing the opposite. You're just cherry picking a few good things. He played well in the Super Bowl. I'm going to give him a lot of credit for that. But he had the best offensive line in football. He had the best running back in the league. He probably has the best wide receiver duo with the tight end attached to it. And then a team that was pretty much the healthiest team in the league. I'm telling you, if you want to be objective, there's probably, and I'll be nice, there's probably 8 to 10 quarterbacks that could succeed in that same thing. And I'm glad you brought up Eli Manning, because what you guys are telling me is that winning matters over everything. You're wearing a Drew Brees jersey. Eli Manning has more Super Bowls than Drew Brees. Nothing else matters now. Your argument to me of why you would pick Jalen over Josh, the only argument, because it ain't stats. Josh has better stats, career, postseason, whatever you want. Your argument to me is, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that Jalen knows how to win a Super Bowl. He's the Super Bowl MVP and Josh is not. By that logic, Eli Manning is better than Dan Marino. Eli Manning is better than Aaron Rodgers. Eli Manning is better than Drew Brees. Say it, because that's the argument you've made for Jalen Hurts all night. I want to hear you say it.
I don't understand how you draw that conclusion, and I
Winning
will
is
never
better.
say it because it's not true. But you could argue, Jerm, Eli Manning beat Tom Brady in an undefeated season where he threw 28 touchdown passes, 26 to Randy Moss in 2007. He came back 4 or 5 years later and did it again. So you could argue he has a better career. I will never sit here and tell you that. You see the jersey that I'm wearing.
No.
You could argue that Eli's over Dan Marino because he won in the moments that it mattered.
I got him.
He won in the – no, you didn't get me. He won in the moments that it mattered. He might be a 500 career quarterback,
so you'll take Eli over Drew Brees.
In the moments where it mattered. No, I don't understand how you draw that conclusion from that.
Because
the whole argument here is with Jalen Hurts being elite, and he's compared to the Big Four. He's done something that nobody in the Big Four besides Patrick Mahomes has done, and that is won the Super Bowl, and he beat a top 3, top 5 all-time quarterback that we like to talk about in Patrick Mahomes.
I asked you directly. You would take Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen? No?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said yes.
Yeah.
Then you explained the reasons why, and it came down to he won the Super Bowl. So if winning a Super Bowl,
he wins 73% of his games.
Pretty good.
Josh Allen wins how many percentage of his games?
Tell me.
He's up there in the 70s as well. Josh Allen has, he's the only quarterback with 5 straight seasons of 30 plus touchdowns or 40 touchdowns and some other crazy, ridiculous record that nobody else will touch. We can nitpick and talk about numbers and statistics and bring this stuff up. The crux of your argument is,
or we could talk about wins.
Okay, exactly. So Eli Manning has won better in the biggest moments than Drew Brees. So if your argument, and that was my point to you, if your argument to me is that it only matters that Jalen Hurts won these games, then by that logic, by your logic, not me putting words in your mouth, is that Eli Manning is greater than Drew Brees because he has won more than him when it mattered. No? But now you want to, but what you're doing now is you're doing basically what I said 2 minutes ago. You're cherry picking the stats to benefit you, but you're cannibalizing your own argument. And again, I'm saying all this to not tear down Jalen, but to tear down the expectations that you guys are placing on him. Sean Barnard, in an honest moment, if there was an NFL redraft and all the quarterbacks are available, where would Jalen Hurts go? I'm not telling you, would he go above Josh Allen or Lamar? Where realistic do you think he would go?
I do think it's that top 5 is like the pack there. Like the people, you won't even get me to sniff the argument of guys like the Jared Goffs, the Justin Herberts, the Trevor Lawrences. Like it's a joke to me that they're even in the same conversation as a guy like Jalen Hurts, who has actually done the things that they can in these what if situations. So I think to give your answer, it probably would be 5th, would be the honest answer from GMs there. I do think that he is respected probably by NFL personnel far more than just like the general fan base is kind of my expectation for how that plays out there. So I understand Jalen is not going to be the 1-1 in the way that, to be honest, I would consider taking him. I'm not going to go as far as taking him over Pat Mahomes, but I do think he keeps the main thing. And I did want to throw this one question to you, Jerm. If we're doing this Eagles roster is loaded. They have the best defense. They have the best offensive line. The wide receivers are unreal. Saquon Barkley. Why did I not hear this buzz about them winning the Super Bowl like all year? Even in this playoff run, it was constantly people picking against the Eagles. That didn't happen until they won. So what happened with that?
I'll tell
you can ask your own fan base that who wanted their coach.
Yeah, ask your own fan base. You guys wanted to fire the coach.
And listen, I'm guilty of that too, because
when
when he started to lose the locker room and the media got a hold and started ripping it apart like dogs, I thought to myself, oh, here we go. Like this is the turn in the season. But to their credit, and I'm going to give them my flowers, they turned it around from that 2-3 week span of uncertainty. Nick Sirianni did his thing, kept it all together, rallied the team, and this was the end result there too.
Top 2 winning percentage in the first 4 seasons as an NFL head coach for Nick Sirianni. And let me ask you this, great point, Sean. Why weren't we talking about Mahomes like this when he had Kelsey at a peak and Tyreek Hill? Why weren't we? He had a loaded team. He had the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. He had the best tight end in postseason history.
I feel like
I didn't hear any of that.
Probably because he was within the top 10 since he became a starting quarterback, and pretty much
he was the reason why that team, with all that talent, you could easily say that Patrick Mahomes was still the most important part of that team. When you look at this Eagles team, realistically, Jalen Hurts is at best the third and most important piece to this Eagles team. You couldn't say that. Yes, with Tyreek Hill and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes still was the motor that made that car go. In this Eagles team, and everything is about perception, right? Why did Josh Allen win the MVP over Lamar Jackson? The perception was he was doing more with less, right? This guy, Sonny, he has like 20 comments in here of making fun of me, so I'll just get to him. Josh Allen, dick rider, I'm guessing was what the eggplant says. Yeah, 3 eggplants. That's how many times I boned your mom last night. Allen carried his team.
Thinking of Josh Allen the entire time.
Thinking of Josh Allen the entire time. You guys are Eagles guys. You guys have been, I'm not going to say you're anti-Josh Allen, but be realistic. You can honestly say Josh Allen did indeed carry the Bills this year. That's not an opinion of a fan. That's like a realistic. You can look at, so I don't know I don't know what that is, what he's doing there. Where was this energy all year? Well, we can't tell, Sonny Terranova. We can't tell where the energy was because by week 5, they wanted the coach fired. By week 6, he's apologizing. By week 8, Big Dom was all in the news. And then week 11, A.J. Brown's reading books and Brandon Graham is dropping salacious knowledge. Like that. To answer your question in short, the reason why this energy wasn't like this until they started winning is because they've been not largely, but they've been a perceived dysfunctional team all year. And what cures losing? What cures dysfunction? Winning. They won, period. That's, again, this is not an anti-Eagles winning. The Eagles as a team won. But the argument for Jalen Hurts as elite is when you break down this roster, when you look at what is perceived as the elite quarterbacks, Joe Burrow is the most important part of that team. Team's game plan for Joe Burrow. Team's game plan for Lamar Jackson. Team's game plan for Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, regardless of what's around them. They didn't do that with Jalen Hurts all year. Maybe they should have, but I'm saying the perception is Jalen Hurts. We've seen what Jalen Hurts is without this amazing defense and this amazing running back. He's okay. He's good. We trust our defense, whether that's the right move or wrong move. I'm not excusing. I'm explaining. It's an elite quarterback. That doesn't happen to. Did he shut him up? Sure, he played a really good game. It's easy to do when your defense is forcing turnovers, getting you really good field position. The point is, he was. Oh, this is going to sound bad, but he was carried by a really. At no point in the season did you say Jalen Hurts has to get them through this rough patch, or at no point in the season were you saying, yeah, it's because Jalen Hurts did this. It's Jalen Hurts did enough to win the game. And Saquon Barkley busted out 2 80-yard runs, and the defense held this opposing team to this many points. That's my point. You can't throw him above these quarterbacks that are doing a lot. We can't punish quarterbacks for having losing situations. We can't punish Josh Allen because his coach is a fucking bald clapping idiot. We can't punish Joe Burrow because his team has 0 defense. I think Marvin Lewis is somewhere in the bowels of wherever the Cincinnati plays, and they can't play. I can't fault Justin Herbert for having a different entire organization every single year.
Herbert, we can fault.
Okay, Herbert's a hard one for me to defend. I will grant you, but I also don't have Herbert in that top 5. But that's cool. That's just me. But you also can see where the raw talent of Herbert and why people are attached to him. But I agree with you. His lack of success, regardless. I feel like great elite quarterbacks overcompensate for that, right? Yeah. Josh Allen turned Mac Hollins into a household name. Mac Hollins is about to get number 1 receiver money. Whether he deserves it, I don't believe in paying skill players. I'm just telling you, he's going to get a bag. And that's not because of him. It's because of Josh Allen. That's the truth. So
So if we can't discredit quarterbacks for being in bad situations, why the fuck are we discrediting Jalen Hurts for taking advantage of his situation?
No. We're not. I'm telling you.
That's what you just did, Jerm.
No,
you just said the best offensive line, the best defensive line, the youngest defense to win a Super Bowl. Look what they did. Look at the short fields. Do you know how many quarterbacks have come up short in big games with all of those advantages? And it's on tape over the 58, 59 years of Super Bowls that we have. And regular seasons.
I'm not discrediting Jalen Hurts for winning the Super Bowl. I'm discrediting you. I'm discrediting your analysis of where he lands. I'm not discrediting him. I've always said he is borderline top 10 or not borderline top 5, somewhere in the top 10. And if he's outside of the top 10 for whatever criteria, he's 11 or 12. And 12 at the absolute worst of his powers. But would I put him, NFL has him at 9. I would realistically put him in the 7 range. And yes, I would put CJ Stroud even off of a down year. I've seen the best of CJ Stroud, and it looks a lot better than the best of Jalen Hurts.
See the worst of CJ Stroud too.
And again, Bert, we do a 3-year sample.
Jalen Hurts.
He did. It did not look good for Houston. I don't know if it was the expectations. I don't know if it was sophomore slump. We're going to find out next year. I'm with you on that. That's why I'm pausing. I'm also pausing on Jaden Daniels, but I got to say, sorry, Sean Barnard. Jaden Daniels looked damn impressive. You can't tell me Jaden Daniels couldn't have won a Super Bowl with this Eagles roster, carrying the bones of the Washington Redskins. Like it's in resurrecting Terry McLaurin's career. And then I'm not going to. Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams. He's not a bad quarterback. I don't know where this Jared Goff sucks stuff from. And again, Jared Goff to me and Jalen Hurts are in the same tier, right? I do believe in the big 4. And then I believe in the elite talent, right? I believe in the CJ Strouds and the Jaden Danielses. And, never mind, Sean. I want Sean to like me, so I'm not going to bring up he who should not be named, but you know who it is. He'll be back with the star on his helmet next year. But he's in that, and Jalen Hurts is at the top of that, though. But there's a drop-off for me from that big 4. And then you get into, yes, I know Justin Herbert doesn't have a lot of winning, but goddamn, that guy can throw the ball. He's made some amazing plays. He's accumulated some good stats. Matt Stafford, the only thing you can really say against Matt Stafford is age, but he's not that far removed from a Super Bowl. And I would take a healthy Matt Stafford with that. His team was just banged up all year, and it was just inconsistent all year. Matt Stafford did nothing wrong. He's too old to overcompensate for bad teams. This isn't the Lions, right? And then we'll see on Jaden Daniels, but I mean, from what the greatest rookie campaign we've ever seen. I'm not going to. I find that more of the start of something rather than a fluke, right? Sure. So, and then CJ Stroud, he had really good year, and he had one really bad year. So we'll see. And that's where to me Jalen Hurts lives. Probably on the top of that, rightfully on the top of that, but clearly not where those other guys are because of the reasons we listed. He's only doing what's asked of him. That's not his fault, but we've seen when we needed more from him and he just didn't do it.
So quick on Jaden Daniels, for starters, I'm with you. Like, he is definitely one of those ones. The dude's going to be a problem. He's the real deal. But with that being said, you know how old Jaden Daniels is? He's 1 year younger than Jalen Hurts. 1 year younger than Jalen Hurts.
That's impressive.
Kind of a little bit when you think about the seasoning that Jalen Hurts has already had at the NFL level compared to this guy just breaking in for his rookie season, kind of a different scale that we're grading him on. I would say that there. And my question for you, Jerm, I just want to ask here, the thing about Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts here is, like, what more does he have to do for Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts to climb into that top tier? Do you think like what individually does Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts have to do for him to crack that list?
Yes, great question, Sean.
So again, this goes back to perception. The perception is that while Jalen Hurts is very good, he isn't the reason. Whether that matters or not, that's the perception. Again, Josh Allen won the MVP off the perception that he's doing more with less, even though his statistics weren't as good. But again, the reason why Lamar won it the year that Josh Allen probably should have won it, or maybe even Dak or even Christian McCaffrey, is that Lamar was doing more with less. When
Josh also had hell of a lot of turnovers too.
Yeah, but he also led the league in touchdowns. But stuff like that matters too. It's like, what's the point of nobody brings up Barry Bonds' strikeouts because he's the home run king? Like the interception, the turnover stuff never made sense to me because he led the league in touchdowns. It would be different if he was middle of the pack and he was actually costing his team games because of his interceptions. But it's hard to use interceptions as an argument or a detriment when he also led the league in touchdowns. That's an anomaly. I don't understand the interception thing when it comes to Josh Allen, but it is what it is.
Put the ball in the air enough, it's eventually going to get caught by the other team. It's kind of how I think about it, because I know it's not the exact same point, but nobody's over here winning Jameis for having a.
We're punishing him for usage rate, and Jameis is a good example. Jameis is literally costing his team's games. His winning percentage is low. He's throwing. Yes, he has 5,000-yard seasons, but it's not translating to any winning though. Like that, you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Nobody cares about that though, because he threw 30 picks.
I got you. 30. But Josh Allen's teams were perceived as winning. They were winning teams,
right?
They're
that's
not
fair, and that's why I said I knew it wasn't.
Seasons.
So
again, I'm glad you brought up. That's a perfect example. Josh Allen isn't being Jameis Winston with it. Yes, the turnovers are bad. I'm never gonna say turnovers are a good thing. What I'm saying is there's context. They don't matter in the grand scheme because he also led the league in touchdowns and he also has a winning team and a contender. Jameis does not. They're struggling to be 500 and he's throwing 5 touchdowns, 5 picks every game. It's not. It's a sum total zero. It's not amounting to anything. So there's context and nuance we have to have with these conversations when it comes to teams. But listen, shout out to Saquon Barkley for being the only running back in NFL history to truly make a difference, carrying a very average quarterback to the Super Bowl, allowing him the honor of winning MVP, being the ultimate distraction so that Jalen Hurts can shine and get the shine that he deserves. It's very nice. Can you show me a Jalen Hurts turnover in the playoffs this year besides this? But that's the part you're gonna check. I got you, but you're always but that's my Eli Manning argument. You're always going to check me with Super Bowls. So you can't just say he won a Super Bowl as your argument because cool. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Was he ever top 5? Is he elite because he won a Super Bowl?
No, but no one ever argued.
But Jerm, I believe my monologue coming into this proved exactly way outside of the Super Bowl was just a cherry on top, baby. That was just the sprinkles over the whipped cream.
I feel you.
He built the cake. He's got that wrapper around that cake, brother.
Howie Roseman built the cake.
Okay, I mean, I don't know.
And speaking of that, you want to talk about fire? You want to talk about getting rid of Jalen Hurts and firing the coach? They banished Howie Roseman to the corner office in the nosebleeds when Chip Kelly came to town. Philly, you guys don't. Honestly, let's get to it. That's what I really don't like. You guys don't deserve this. Okay, you guys don't deserve this victory. All you do is shit on your players, and then you expect positive.
Oh, I'll agree.
Nothing happens from negative reinforcement. Not every fan base. Josh Allen could not score with 3 minutes left to tie or take the lead. You can't beat it. I mean, if you're going to look at Josh Allen's playoff statistics and come out with the conclusion that he is not doing enough to win, then we can't have a conversation. Like it's, again, you're going to checkmate me with Super Bowls, and I get it, but we can. I mean, I'll say it: Jalen Hurts, Black Trent Dilfer, Jalen Hurts, Black Brad Johnson. I'm done being nice to y'all. Hey. Jalen Hurts, one step better than Rex Grossman.
Oh my god! No.
So
I'm throwing there, sexy Rexy.
I've just kind of had this burning question the whole time since Jalen's just, I mean, yeah, he's gotten his respect, but I just think to not call him elite is just blasphemous. You want regular season production? You want 4,000 passing yards? You want 35 touchdowns? Or do you want a guy who wins in the biggest moments and has played great in the 2 Super Bowls that he's played in?
I want a guy. I'll
happily take the latter because it all mattered about a quarterback winning a Super Bowl for his legacy until Jalen Hurts fucking did it, and that's what I'm sick of. That's absolutely what
I want him to get one MVP vote. I want people to look at him like he's the reason this team.
He came in second.
He was second in MVP voting 2 years ago. And by the way, like with all the
time
numbers,
doesn't work backwards. I'm talking about this year. I'm talking about and he deserved it last year because he deserved it that year 2 years ago because he was the only thing they had really going. This year he took a step back to the team. Go tell Sean, you're a fan of the team. Give me the list of importance. Does Jalen Hurts more important than that defense? Did he contribute more than that defense all year?
In that game individually, I would probably say no. And the
Saquon Barkley.
100%.
As a whole,
Jalen for sure.
Okay. They had the number 3 defense in the league, and he was barely in the top 10 in any of the. Okay,
Jerm, you want
running back? Obviously,
Jerm, you want an MVP for Josh? Would you be happier today if Josh Allen had a Super Bowl MVP or that regular season MVP? And I know
So-
your answer. I just want you to say it for the audience.
Well, obviously, I want my team to win the Super Bowl. This isn't about Jalen Hurts winning the Super Bowl, though. You guys are
Which he
missing.
did.
What?
Yeah. Which he did do that. Just to,
He did. Yeah, I
yes,
got you.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that, Sean. I didn't hear that he won the Super. He won the Super Bowl. I didn't hear that.
He did.
And he got the MVP. I didn't hear that.
Come on,
That never
we
came
gotta
up.
Have you on the show, bro.
Yeah, that never
like you,
came up
brother.
actually.
Oh.
Again, Jalen Hurts. Bert said it earlier. There is a notion of individual success that you have to have. Jalen Hurts is indeed more of a system quarterback than he is the system. When you look at the elite quarterbacks, Josh Allen is very much the system in Buffalo. Lamar Jackson is the system. Joe Burrow is the system. Patrick Mahomes is the system. And even to a lesser success, unfortunately, Justin Herbert is the system. Kyler Murray is the system. Baker Mayfield. Like, these guys are making it happen because they are asked to. Jalen Hurts is just asked to keep the car straight. There is nothing wrong with that because he's very good at it. But to put him in elite status when you can't even garner a single MVP vote, when teams are actively game planning for you to succeed, is not what elite quarterbacks look like to me.
Let
Oh
me
my
stick
We'll
on.
have a lot of D coordinators next year changing up that game plan for Philadelphia.
So
Maybe.
listen, real quick, and Sean, I'll let you go. But I think for me, that is the stigma, and I'll use the word stigma around elite because it means that it's so hard to get that title unless you have both the individual and the winning. And for me, and again, I'll say it loud and I'll say it proud, Giants fan. I can't tell you the last elite anything we have had, but what we've had is hard-nosed players who were, well, I'll bring up Lawrence Taylor. He was elite 100%. So, but like when we're talking about, like, take my boy Eli, won games when it matters, top 10, top 11 in passing touchdowns, but like never had those personal accolades because he played football in a time when it was crowded by Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, like take your pick, all these other phenomenally elite and Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So I don't fault him. And yeah, I'll be a homer for not getting the illustrious Pro Bowls every year, MVP votes, even like, offensive player of the year or things like that. But when it came down to it, and has been mentioned before, he won the games that mattered. He's got 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think there has to be a shift in mentality and how we're looking at play individually to understand that that looks just as elite as, Joe Burrow getting basically garbage time season stats to pad into so individuals can come and make fucking MVP comments towards the end of the season as though his team wasn't trash all year. So like, I think that's where the mental breakdown is. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're getting your team to that point and winning and doing, although not putting up the biggest numbers, but doing it flawlessly, I think that should be in the elite category too. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah,
10
and
touchdowns, 1 INT in that playoff run.
I was going to stick on the Justin Herbert point for a second here, because to me, Justin Herbert is the antithesis of what Jalen Hurts is. What Justin Herbert is, the talent is undeniable. He can make every throw. The arm's ridiculous. But what happens when you shine the bright lights on him? The dude pees down his legs. The 2 playoffs that we've seen Justin Herbert in, number 1, he blew the 4th largest lead in NFL playoff history, had a 27-0 lead at halftime, and found a way to lose that game. And what did he do in the next playoff performance? Threw for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 interceptions against a bad Houston Texans team. If you were asking for an opportunity to go win a game, Justin Herbert, you can't ask for a better matchup than what that like zombie version of that Texans team was, and he still found a way to cough the ball over that many times. Then contrast that with Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to say Jalen Hurts is a more talented passer of the football. He's not the most accurate passer in the NFL. But what he is he finds a way to win games, and when you shine those same bright lights on it, he's going to step up and rise to the occasion. He maximizes his talent in a way that I think very few quarterbacks honestly do. I feel like we talk a lot about untapped potential. Jalen Hurts is tapping into every bit of potential and maximizing who he is as a football player in a way that I respect a ton. And frankly, I don't think you can ask for much more than that.
I agree. Jalen Hurts holds the steering wheel better than anybody else in the NFL. Don't mess it up, Jalen Hurts. Good job. We did an hour of fucking Jalen Hurts talk.
Yeah.
I want to play fair or foul, but I don't want to hold anybody up. So if you guys are down, I'm down to keep it going, and we can finish off with fair or foul.
Yeah, let's fair and foul and then dismount.
All right, listen, fair or foul. Jalen Hurts is elite. No, I'm
Boy, I had it ready.